First of all, on behalf of Lethbridge Public Library, I want to welcome everyone to our Indigenous Art series. And today we're having a panel discussion. And the panel is going to be looking a little bit about how we, long time ago, our art was living. We used it. We didn't just let it sit and get looked at. So we want to kind of cover some of that, what that might mean to the present day artist. And then we'll go from there. But before we do that, we want to acknowledge the land that we're on. The Lethbridge Public Library acknowledges that we are gathered on the lands of the Blackfoot people or the Canadian Plains, and pays respect to the Blackfoot people past, present, and future, while recognizing and respecting their cultural heritage, beliefs, and relationship to the land. The city of Lethbridge is also home to the Métis Nation of Alberta, Region 3. Okay, so I'm going to have Jamie and Amber introduce themselves and just give a brief background on where they started, not to cover what we did yesterday, but just to kind of get a sense of who Jamie and Amber are. Then when Haley joins us, then we'll ask her the same. All right.
Okay, ni Donna ko nagaki ni Don Ghana. My name is Amber Weaselhead, and I am from Ghana, and I'm also Bitterroot Salish. My parents are Linda and Keon Weaselhead. My grandparents are Diana Plume and the late Frank Weaselhead. I have 3 children, Sequoia, Gimwan, and Kihio, and my partner, Jamie John, and we live here in Treaty 6 territory. We're Indigenous artists, and we're also instructors, and I'm also do a lot of help in different areas with different artists.
Migan, kutawi na naskamo. Miasin kaki anutska kiskak. Jamie John Kihiwin Sigasin Kihiwin Otidia. So first and foremost, acknowledge the creator, and just want to say it's such a beautiful day today. And my name is Jamie John Kihiwin. I am from Kihiwin, Alberta. Well, this whole territory up here, this Lakeland territory, my grandparents kind of roamed this whole area from Lac La Biche all the way to kind of Cold Lake, Kihiwin, Edmonton area. So we have a lot of roots, a lot of ancestors out this way. We go way back. So, but myself as an artist, I guess you can say, I got started late in my life, practicing art forms and learning about them. What I was thinking about from last night, and then it's like, oh, I should have said this, but now I have a chance today. So we found that I found, and seeing other artists that we've trained, and our kids too as well, and other fellow artists out there, are finding that art reawakens our identity, who we are as Indigenous people. So it's been a good journey so far, and learned a lot and sure appreciate it. So like Amber said, we are instructors, we're parents, we're mentors as well, and we're still learning every day. So that's kind of who we are. So
okay. Well, I do have a leading question, but that doesn't mean we have to stay on that. If you think you'd like to put in something else, that would be perfect too. I want this to be from your hearts, like really emphasizing your work and how you do that. But I've been to many museums in my lifetime, and I've been able to see some of the artifacts that are behind glass and so on, but we are never allowed to really touch them. And we're never really allowed to like understand that that dress, for example, is something that was actually worn by a actual person. Um, and then you see other things like the tools, and they're just sitting in a drawer, just being dormant or stagnant. And it always bothered me. I always felt some grief over that, some mourning of the loss of what our people made. They took time to make these things, and now they're not being used the way they should be. Although they do have historical value, and we can go look at them and probably make a replica of them. And that's what a lot of people are doing. But for yourselves in your works, how do you make your art come alive for the participants? What kind of things do you do to involve people in the art process? Like, so it's not just sitting there, behind a glass case or something. Although we do some of that work, but nevertheless, like how do you focus on the land, the plants? How do you do things like what people wear, like clothing? Like how do you do all of that? Maybe just discuss that for a bit.
Myself, I find if I'm doing something, doing work, putting my heart, soul, spirit into it, then if I get hurt while I'm doing it, then I always think if it bleeds, it leads. So it's gonna work. That is a little side joke, but it's just a lot of things happened in our history. Listening to the elders talk about it, and back in 1876, around here down south, 1877, treaties were signed, entered into. And that's our elders' understanding, is we entered into treaty. We signed with a touch of the top of the feather, and whoever it was sitting there behind the book, marked the X with that feather, so, or the pen that they were using at the time. And our elders, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So our elders, they have their worldview, their understanding of what they agreed to. It wasn't a sale of this land. It was an exchange. One of the elders, she went like this. She went like this, They went like this, she said. And those three things in there, the main ones, education, health, and another one was medicines. So, and included in there, there's 21 points in our treaty. So these our elders, they had the vision of foresight, and they seen what was going to happen in the future through prayer. They seen what was going to happen in the future, and that's part of the reason why, big reason why they entered into these treaties, was to help us people today, like the younger generations, into the future. And at the same time, like you're saying, all of these pieces that they utilized, it was, a lot of it was based on survival, living off this land, living with the land. And prayer was a big part of that. In our language, our elders, they say that this island here, Turtle Island, they refer to it as, but our people, we call it, the elders, they call it Gagismo, like a prayer sanctuary is what it is for everybody that was living here. And those said items that they used, the pipes, the rattles, the whistles, pipiguans, they utilize those pieces on a daily basis. And not only that, but everything else that their life, because they never had, you know, more than they needed. They always had just exactly enough. It wasn't about who had the most, you know. It was about sharing and caring for everybody, the whole community, making sure everybody had enough. And all of these tools, these implements, these say today birch bark baskets, it's such a beautiful thing. Let's put it in the museum. No, they utilize those. We have stories north of here in the bush. They had food caches. They had these birch bark baskets where they stored dried goods, dried foods, and those were always full. They were always topped up, and it wasn't just anybody go over there and hoard it all for themselves. No, they took what they needed, and then whatever they needed on their hunting trails, they'd come back and they'd replenish those what they took, and then they'd leave again. So a lot of these items that we utilize are or they utilized were for practical use, right, for survival. Coming into today, it's like everything that happened from that 1876 up until now. So you have your residential school, your reserve system, your permit system. You couldn't even go off this little piece of land, and when you were used to traveling with the animals, with the season, we were nomadic. We had winter camps, we had summer camps, hunting camps, even fishing camps. So we never stayed still. Like this was our mother, so we traveled all throughout. Our people knew every part of this whole territory, from north to south, east to west. And everything that they utilized was for practical use. So in saying that, everything that happened that had transpired throughout time, we have permit systems, we have residential schools, and all of a sudden the banning of ceremonies, banning of cultural events. And then all of a sudden, you had these RCMP or whoever it was, they were supposed to protect our people, and one of those that followed thereafter him was supposed to help our people, protect our people, and then all of a sudden they're the ones stealing, taking all of these items and then sending them off, selling them off for big money back in a day, whatever it was to them, $5-10, that was a lot of money to them, I guess. But they were selling these to the highest bidder, and now we have items, artifacts, in all of these museums that we've seen them, right? We all had a chance to, wherever we were, I guess, lucky enough to go to and have a look at our pieces, our heirlooms, these pieces that were taken away. And then there's even stories of the elders saying that they go into the museum and they hear babies crying, but it's those pieces, they say, those instruments, those implements, they're like children still. They have a spirit still, and they can hear them crying. So they have to go there and do pipe ceremony and, bless the place, pray for those items and those artifacts, because they're still there. They're still alive. They're still well. It's just that they're not being utilized. They're just being utilized to have a look at, have a gander, come check it out, pay $5 to get in, and, what the heck's that about? Sorry, this listening to all the elders' stories and translating and transcribing and playing them back in English subtitles. We have tons of interviews from elders and accounts out there and understandings that they have yet to be heard, and it's a lot of powerful information, a lot of truths that are out there that need to be heard. And especially today, the way things are, and people are just, they're lost. You look out there, you look on the news, people are angry, because they're lost. They don't have a direction, right? I know I'm kind of rambling on and getting off topic, so maybe I'll.
And I just wanted to add, when we're utilizing some of, like, for myself as an artist, like when I'm doing some of these art forms, especially like doing like today we're tanning a hide, right? You know, we're remembering those things that our ancestors did. We're remembering those things, and it's like, you know, we're bringing those to life, and we're not letting them. You know, I don't think they ever go away. It's just that us, we have to pick those up again, pick those tools up, and then do the work again, and show our children. You know, right away, our children are working with the hides too, and they already kind of know what to do. We just give them a little bit of direction, and then they just go with it. So I think that's where, you know, it's up to us to really pick up those tools and to show others, and not to say, well, I know how to do this art form, but, you know, to share it with others. So I think, I know that's all I wanted to add.
Those who are willing to learn, because, you know, it's kind of hard to be an Indian. It's hard work, but it's not hard work. It's actually fun work. You know, that's what they say. You know, it's fun. You go and get an animal, and you honor that animal, and you use every part of that animal. And they say, I heard from one of my friends, he's a little bit older than me. He said, we don't call it hard work. It's not hard work. It's fun, because it is. You know, you're living a millennia of teaching, and you're just reliving it, and you're bringing that back to life, and you're practicing it, and you yourself, you're learning too, and then you're teaching your kids, and you're making sure that those traditions pass down and survive.
I think you're on mute.
That would be helpful to take the mute off. I know there's some people in the world that really would like to see me be muted all the time. No. Okay. Amber, did you want to add anything more to that?
No, I think I added, you know, what I needed to say about, you know, picking up our tools and bringing these things to life, you know, even with our powwow outfits. And, you know, we're seeing these, you know, they're dancing out there. When we see our beadwork, especially when we do beadwork for other people, you know, we're seeing those come to life. You know, the fans too, you know, we're bringing those, almost like we're bringing those animals back to life through those. I know, like, my grandfather was a big part of the repatriation and bringing back a lot of our sacred bundles and a lot of our sacred items. And, you know, he also talked about that, about, you know, how he felt when he went into those museums, and, you know, almost like, you know, these sacred items being taken away. And, but then when they brought them home, and it was like they were home, and they were able to, you know, look at the land and not to be afraid, because they were home. They were home back with who they're, you know, they were supposed to be back on the land. So I think that's
that buffalo jump ceremony where we're at that time.
Okay, good. Sugapi. Haley, thank you for joining us. We're glad you're here. We want you to...
for being late.
Oh no, that's okay.
It's really strong, and so it took me twice as long to get here. So
yeah, I know that wind was just pushing you backwards.
But I'm really enjoying what I'm listening to. I'd rather just be a listener. It's apologize for being late. So thanks for having me, Linda.
Yeah. Oh no, that's okay. We started off with, first of all, maybe just give, I know you did this already, but just give a little bit of your background, and then go into the question here. Like you heard Jamie talking about some of the stuff in the museums and whatnot, but in your work, how do you make things come alive for the viewer, or for yourself, or just like when you're doing that work that how do you involve even contemporary styles today? I think that you do a lot of that mixing of contemporary with traditional.
Well, I wanted to thank everyone for attending, and I guess just to introduce myself. My name's Haley, and I wanted to apologize. My mom couldn't be here. I wanted her to, but maybe next time. So I'm a mom. I have a daughter, Marley. She's in university. And I guess I started my art practice really early on, in terms of, making, like doing traditional Blackfoot work, like beadwork and making outfits when my daughter got, was school age. And it was like, I I actually went to museums and went to books to find out that knowledge because I didn't have access to it directly. It wasn't until later that my mom started beading, but the great aunties and the great grandmas, and they're the ones that had those skills. And of course, with the interruption you mentioned with the educational system, those were lost. So I recently, I'm a student at the university, and in my graduate studies, I am using some museum pieces to, I guess, find out my own personal history, but then also to extend that of how that's important to our young people, which was mentioned earlier. I'll tell you a quick story about um, sort of one of the first times I realized the significance and the power of a museum was, my mom had an exhibit in Gatineau, just across from Ottawa, at the National Gallery. And this was in 2006. I think she had a residency there. And so I had gone with her. And while I was there, she set me up with one of the curators, or the specialist in the photography department. And so I was able to go into the archives. And, I went into the archives and I was looking at, I had asked the individual there, I said, well, I'm looking for anything like Kainai or Blackfoot specific, and then especially with the last name Heavy Shield. And, we barely have any photos of my grandparents, great grandparents. And it was there that I discovered a photograph of Pete Heavy Shield, which is my great grandfather. And that was so powerful. And it was exciting. It was devastating. There was all these emotions that I had on the spectrum, because it made me realize that, this image of him was housed physically so far away from home. And then the more I reflected on it, the more it made me kind of realize that how many other family members, how many other kids and youth, I had the resources to take a 6-hour flight there, to be able to stay there, go there, but so many of our people don't have that. So thinking about, and I do have to say, there are efforts now being made to rematriate, repatriate, and that we still have a far way to go. But I think that the Glenbow Museum, if you're First Nations, you have free of charge access to go there. But then again, you have to take a bus up there or live in the city to have access. So more of that digitization, it's not like having it, I guess, physically with you, but, stories like Amber, like the bring home the bundles. I know there's more and more of that happening, but there has been a lot of work that goes into that, and more of that needs to happen. So yeah, I guess that was one of my big experiences, and where that sort of, on the one hand, my mom was having a show in this gallery, and on the other hand, there's this artifact of that was so intimate and meant so much to me, that it really had a profound effect. And so I'm working somewhat with the Glenbow. They allow now for people to come in and smudge. At the same time, our nations need to have a place to house these things so we can have access to them. And, you know, because there are people out there that they have their own agenda for uses. And so to some respect, I feel that I think it's a good step in the right direction to start working, and then working with them, but also have Indigenous people employed in the museums. So then there's like a conduit, someone who can be an advocate. And then there's all sorts of issues that go along with that too as well. But yeah, so I guess I wanted to share that.
So in your own work, Haley, how do you bring it to life to the viewer? Like what do you think about, or maybe not think, but as you're creating, how do you say, well, this is going to be Blackfoot or something like that? Maybe I'm not using the right words, but yeah.
Very early on, you know, when I had first started, especially like making moccasins or doing like applique on my daughter's like outfits and stuff, I asked my auntie, because someone had told me, I had an elder that told me, like I was doing flower work, and I was I felt sort of like that I was not reprimanded, but sort of saying, well, that's not our way. Those are Cree specific symbolism and things like that, right? But in the research that I've done, later on, I found this out, but I talked with another elder and they said, well, no, that's a big part of what the colonial system was, that they systematically use these categories to put us in as nations. And so a lot of that generation takes what the colonizers are telling us. And so I had another elder say, well, no, to some extent that is true, but there are other Blackfoot symbols, and we do have them around us that are natural grasses, flowers, and that we have used. And what one of my aunts told me was that, you know, you're the artist and you get to decide what kind of work you can portray. And it is Blackfoot because that's who I am and that's the place that it's coming from. So that kind of engaged me a little bit more into doing research into I guess artifacts. How I use artifacts is a lot of photography. Just going back to the example of my grandfather, and then of course books and literature to find out some of these sketches that like the explorers came and witnessed, and sort of using that to counter the narrative of like the exotic other. So in a way to kind of like take ownership for myself in creating this piece of work that utilizes it to re-educate and to use a different story. So a lot of like imagery, photography especially, I like to use, and then manipulate it in a way where either it's aesthetically pleasing for me, or it gives some meaning for me, or a story that I'd like to maybe tell in the work. But one of the issues I keep coming across, which is it's difficult, is a lot of the beadwork, for example. I've been working with this project with the university, and Linda, you're involved with this, the Kainai Women's Project. And I had gone up before the COVID came about, and we went to look at the beadwork up there, and a lot of it is unknown. Like it says the nation, and then it says owner, you know, unknown. And that's so, it's a part of that grief process that our people go through, that it's, you know, these things were made for a reason and for a purpose. And so when you do go in there, like I really, it resonates with me when you, sorry, what's your name again, sir? The East Amber, is that your husband, colleague?
Yeah, Jamie.
Jamie, sorry. Jamie, when you were talking about kind of that haunting feeling in the archives, because, you know, I've experienced that, and I think it's really important that, you know, as part of my work is using that in a way. So I'm not able to actually, you know, physically remove the say the moccasins or the vest or the capelet, but I'm actually able to, for me, it's easier to take an image of that and then utilize it however I'd like, and even replicating it. I think that's really important, because it, you know, someone can see that, or a certain style of that, and it, you know, you're connected to it automatically, and we don't know why, but it is. It's, you can say, well, that's, you know, that's Kainai, or that's that family. A lot of families have certain colors, and so yeah, that's sort of how I use it in my work, my artwork.
Amber or Jamie, did you want to respond to what Haley had to say? What Haley just said? Is there anything you'd like to add to what she's saying from your experiences?
I think, you know, I do a lot of those too, like archive works in my art too, like a lot of pictures, archives, and wondering what that story was of that person, and actually trying to find that story. I also like to, you know, pretend, well, like to put almost like a, I don't know that word, like put a picture of like one of my children, and then another like a ancestor, like the half face where I was kind of searching, you know, finding my identity and trying to find out who I was. And then I seen a picture of this, you know, this woman. It was an Indigenous woman, and she was a Blackfoot woman. And then I looked at my face, and it was like, wow, it was like we almost had the same features. And it really made me feel like really like connected to her. And I also, you know, I also did a little video of how, you know, we are those faces of those ancestors, and then how we can, you know, how we're able to celebrate them, or you know, use them in our artwork, and then seeing these features in our children, and seeing, you know, how, like, you know, with my sons, with their hair being long, and then you know, we did like a little top knot on my son, and then we did that picture with him. So you know, seeing these old photographs and seeing them within our own you know, our own relatives, so I think it's really powerful, and it gives them a connection. A lot of times that's what we talk about with our students, is to find, you know, the roots first, you know, find those roots, find those even those pictures, or even those ancestors to connect with, because sometimes we need that connection, and we need to understand, you know, where we're coming from, and we need to understand those stories too. And then, you know, how it's building on our story, and how it gives us strength. It gives us a lot of strength within the, you know, the generations. You know, I was so fortunate to be to see, you know, my mom. There was a 5-generation picture, to see all her, you know, all the women in the family. And then again, for me to be in a 5-generation picture when I was a baby, and then for my daughter to be in a 5-generation picture, you know, it's really powerful. At the time, you know, where I didn't really think of it like that until I was putting those 3 pictures together. And then, you know, to see those generations, you know, very strong. So it really gives us a good connection. So.
Mm-hmm. As for myself, it's and I understand part of the repatriation, and I know we used to go all these chiefs meetings, and they would talk about those. You know, we're gonna repatriate these items and these artifacts from these museums, you know, all the way in London, and just to be a part of that, you know, to come back from BC back to Alberta. And this was when our daughter was just a baby, and we ended up going down to the Buffalo Jump when that one bundle came back from her late grandfather had brought it back, and him and his team, you know, he's part of that team that brought that back. And to experience that, you know, we were a lot of them were inside that teepee, but some of us were sitting outside and we were facing the north. And then those beliefs that that we have as Indigenous people, you know, and a lot of them are similar as well. And in our belief that Buffalo Spirit is in the north here, in the northern part of this the universe. And when they brought that bundle back and they opened it and they sang those 4 songs and they had those berries and all of that, this day was just beautiful. Just, you know, blue sky, nice warm breeze. And all of a sudden they're getting to those songs and they started singing. And I was sitting to the north and I was watching and I seen this line of cloud coming just real as far as the horizon would stretch. And then as they were singing those songs, first song, second song, third song, those clouds kept rolling in faster and faster. And by that 4th song, that cloud was right over us and they were just rolling. It was rolling like it was a buffalo stampede, just went right over us. And the sound of it was just amazing. It sounded like a stampede of buffalo, just thunder just right over us. And it was just powerful to sit out there and to witness that and to be a part of that and to see that, you know, that bundle, it's just, you know, back home, you know, it's such a beautiful thing. Words can't explain it, but you have to be there to see it, right? To feel it. And a lot of these stories, so I do a lot of artwork as well, and a lot of feather work and a lot of regalia making and same time filmmaking. But when like for example, when I do feather work, it's like those birds when you put them back together, those make those fans again out of those tails. It's like you're bringing that bird back to life. And that fan, when you're using it, it has an energy. You can feel it. You can definitely feel the spirit of that animal. It's alive again. And other art forms as well when that happens. And then especially with these elder stories, you know, when we capture them and we were able to fully understand what they're talking about. It's like the old oral storytelling is what it is. You know, nowadays, today, with the use of technology, we have to find ways to adapt because not everybody, like you said, has the you know, the means to go see an elder. You know, they have barriers. You know, they don't have transportation. People live all over the place, so. And elders are far and few. So with filmmaking, you're able to capture those elder stories, so they're able to leave a legacy behind for their children, for their future generations. And I feel pretty blessed when I was asked to do that work, you know. And in my mind, I thought, you know, filmmaking, oh, it's gonna bring me big bucks. I'm gonna go work in Hollywood, you know, make all that, you know, big coin and be famous and all that stuff. But one of my relatives sat me down and, you know, talked to me about it and offered me a project. So he said, you're not going to get rich, but you're going to gain a lot of knowledge. He said, you'll be rich in knowledge. So I said, sure, why not? You're going to help the elders leave a legacy behind. You know, it's very important work. So with that, you know, that was enough. You know, as soon as he mentioned elders, okay, let's do it. So we've been on that journey since 2006 up until today, and we're still going with that project, you know. And it's their worldview, their understanding, and messages that they want the youth to hear. So, so in a lot of aspects, a lot of these art forms, you know, you're really bringing them to life, and we're really, well, trying to utilize them, you know, as much as we can. But sometimes in this day and age, it's kind of, especially now, you know, with COVID, right? It kind of makes it difficult, but we have Zoom.
Oh, I see something.
The Zoom is muting me again. Haley, did you want to add anything more to what they just said?
Just maybe I wanted to know if there was any questions from any of the participants so far.
Not yet. We can, if there's any people out there that would like to ask a question, at the bottom of your page is a Q&A, and then you just type it in and then I'll read it out. Right now, we don't have any. You guys are so knowledgeable that they're just, you've answered everything for them.
I guess I wanted just to quickly comment, maybe an extension of what Amber and Jamie are talking about with technology and video, and you know, how we can, with the changing times, we have the agency now to create, you know, contemporary stories in the context of our history and our family and where we're from. And I think that's so important, you know, learning these technologies. And I remember, you know, even when texting came about a few years ago, and my mom just started texting, and we were saying, yeah, you know, grandma's texting, and but the advances are happening so fast. And I think for us, just like Jamie talking about recording of the elders and using that technology as a way to I guess mobilize. I don't want to say like preserve, because then that's just kind of a stagnant word. Like to mobilize that knowledge so that other people, like our people and young people, have the ability to learn that too as well. And then I think right now it's really important, particularly with what's going on, like the politically with our people, that we are able to form a collective. And you know, we're very distinct as nations, but at the same time there's sort of this collective experience that we have in terms of like exploitation of land and social injustices and things like that. And I think especially with television or media, you know, more and more I'm seeing our young people utilize that in a way that's bringing awareness, but also it's true activism. It's really empowering. And I think those voices need to be heard, you know, so I just wanted to comment on that, of how technology can be used. I remember one elder, he said, well, this is my computer right here, and this is my microphone, you know, and these are my earbuds. So like, I love that, right? Because it's a reminder, and we do have to maintain those ways and those skills. Like, I wish I could get up and talk for like an hour and a half or 2 hours. Like some elders can just tell a story, and it's something that I'd really love to do, but I can't. Like, I need my notes, or I need this PowerPoint, and so I guess there's a balance too there. Yeah.
Okay,
And
we
also,
do.
oh, sorry, I just real quickly too, it just reminded me, like we talked about artifacts too as well, but I recall the like audio files of old songs in the archives too as well, and like I know some museums are working to digitize those, but like just having access to that, I'm not really sure where that's at. And I think there was a young man, a singer, and his last name was Singer, and he's a singer. Oh. And he was working with the audio files, and you know, I think that's really important too, because that you know, that allows us into that reality of that time. So just a few comments there.
We do have three questions. We do have three questions. I'll say the comment first. And this is from Charmaine. She said, hi, bro. Hi, sis. It's Ape. I don't have a question, but yes, I'm learning and absorbing all you are saying. And it's beautiful and empowering. And I just want to say hi, and I feel all this in my heart. Hi, Haley, for your story as well. Great job, makes me very proud. That's really nice from Charmaine.
Thank you.
And from Jessica, she says, what is your favorite type of art? I'll let each of you answer this. What is your favorite type of art, like beading, painting, etc.? Like, do you have a particular, I think she's asking, what is your favorite medium that you like to do? Something like that. We'll start with Haley.
Geez, I consider myself a multidisciplinary artist, and so I find beauty and love in kind of any sort of material that I'm working with. I have to say that I really love like painting and acrylics, but I do have to say, like the literary arts, poetry for me is probably a really big one. I think like language, we talked about the power of story and how that comes out in certain art forms. I think words are very powerful, and particularly like our incorporating like our Indigenous languages within those stories that we write or tell, and playing with words too. It's really limitless, and it's such a way that like I think that's what challenges me the most, and that's what's most difficult. So if you get me on a bad day, I might not say that's my favorite because it's so challenging. But I'll have to say right now that I'm doing quite a bit of writing, just because I have to with school, but it's forcing me to to stay regular with my writing. So
it's motivating you. Somebody told me that today, that it motivated them.
Oh
yeah.
Well, I'm a master procrastinator. I will just admit that. So
okay, Amber or Jamie or Amber, maybe.
I guess the same thing too. It really depends on what I'm learning. I really like to do a lot of different arts. I really liked 1 year I really liked watercolors. I was really liking it. I really like this traditional arts. I really like working with so it's hard work. These hides, it's really hard work. I like to do just all genres, and so far, I haven't been able to just sit down and to do my own work, just because we're doing a lot of demos for our students and teaching a lot. But so what I do for myself is I do a lot of like moving pictures, a lot of these like old pictures, and then I'll infuse like these different backgrounds. So I like to do a lot of that on my downtime, my self-care. I like to do a lot of photography. When we're out and about, I'm always taking pictures, millions of pictures, and just and I like to add like maybe a little bit of art into I use my device a lot for my arts. When I do a lot of beadwork, it takes a lot of time for me to do beadwork, but I do really love it. It really helps me a lot to kind of get in that moment, to kind of sit down and to just, be still with myself. I notice if I'm not doing beadwork, I'm kind of a little bit, I need to do something. And but yeah, I'm really, I really like to challenge myself in all different art forms, painting, and I'm not really the best painter, but I really love to paint, and I really like to just sit there and just, whatever's going to come out, it's going to come out. So I think those are probably all my art mediums. And writing, you're talking a little bit about writing. I haven't, I used to write too, and I haven't really gotten back into that. but I do miss writing. I miss performance arts, being on the stage. I miss singing a lot. So I did a lot of that when I was younger, in my younger days. So, I kind of miss those art forms. So yeah, I think that's really, I like everything. So I don't know how to really.
I wanted to just quickly say that's kind of how I find us maybe like we're similar that way, in that it's whatever sort of you're working with that kind of calls you. Because
Yeah.
there'll be stuff that I don't do for like years, and then I'll be like, why, like making earrings or doing something like that, and then the time will just be right. You get this hunger for doing something, and then of course I become so obsessive about it, and that's all I do until the next stuff. But I appreciate to know that you guys are teaching. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I think as artists, it's you start off with one and then you go on to the next genre and you keep moving like that, right? So we're always evolving. So I think where I'm at a point in my art career is with the videos, and especially with editing, right? So if I'm gonna be watching a program or TV or whatever, right, I really critically watch it. So how do they do that move, right? So I have to try it right in my editing suite. So it's always constant learning, right? So, and at the same time, as an artist, as an Indigenous person, come to really admire and cherish and appreciate nature. You go out there and you see all these wonderful, beautiful things out there, right? And how can I use this in a piece of art, and how can we utilize this, or what at this beginning of the season of springtime, what grows throughout the year and up until now, and in the fall time, how can we utilize these in our art pieces, natural art forms, natural authentic art forms. So yeah, it's just like my workspace over here. You should see it. And just kind of like my mind is an organized mess right now. Only I know where things are. But yeah, I think, and then when we were fleshing our hide today, right, and we're using our fleshers, and our mentor, she got this one made, specifically designed from an elder that she learned from, and then she taught me how to make one. So I got to welding class, and oh man, I just love that welding too. It's just like created this flesher and the scraper out of it, so I can, thinking of the future, and then even created a little mini-sized replica teepee. It is such a cool, awesome, wonderful course, right? I wish it was longer. I could do more stuff. Sculpture is another good one that I would. So I'll stop right there.
Okay, thank you. We have another question from Katie Joe. She says, art and stories go hand in hand. What story or legend inspires your art? Just jump in there.
If I start talking about legends and all that, I'm gonna start making it snowing here.
Oh yeah, it's not winter yet.
So yeah, there's a lot of stories, and in our history, we have history of creation story, and it goes way back right to the beginning, even before the beginning of time, of universe, right, of everything. Like we have this story, and it's so awesome and wonderful how the creator was created himself, and how he went on to manifest himself, and then all of a sudden he started creating everything, right? So we have that story, and it comes up all the way to today, and it includes everything, right? And they say that if we can learn that story, your whole language is in that story. That's what they tell us. So and then part of that there is a trickster. We'll call him trickster for safety's sake, right? So there's a lot of I guess paintings or drawings and stuff like that was able to utilize some of those stories and depict them in the painting.
For me, I think like, I'm a big fan of memoir, and I guess that's kind of just like maybe a microcosm of the creation story, because like each of our own lives is a story. And I feel that paying attention to your own story, you know, having a vision, a lot of those things, you start to become really connected with the art and where the art's coming from, which is the creator within yourself. Um, and I do a lot of, well, when I was teaching, I did a lot of life writing, so journaling, especially like with students, and it's such a great like an outlet. You know, it's therapeutic, it's very healing, but then also there's an opportunity for growth there too, because sometimes I'll go back and I'll read some of these journal entries, and I'll, you know, there's all sorts of responses. I'll be like, oh my gosh, you know, I forgot about that. Or so that kind of goes with like memory work too as well. I think it's really important that we document somehow our own stories of what we go through, and stories of others. But that kind of sounds, I don't mean to sound like narcissistic, like your own story, it's all about you, but really, like as an artist, you're always reflecting, you know, you're always thinking about these kind of mysterious things that you encounter, and the power. And I guess that's the spiritual part of being an artist, that you're paying attention to these encounters. And some people call them like serendipitous or coincidental, but like as Indigenous people, we have that strong belief and connection that it's more than that. So for me, actually, I just wanted to quickly mention a book. He's a young writer from Driftpile, Billy Ray Belcourt, and his book just came out. It's #1 in Canada, and it's called A Brief History of My Body. And I read an excerpt, and it really sounds fascinating. The language is so beautiful. And so I haven't read it yet, but that's something that maybe if anyone's interested, to go to your library or buy a copy.
Mm-hmm. Amber, did you want to add anything? Thank you, Haley.
I think that, you know, a lot of these stories that, you know, like, again, I was really fortunate to listen to these stories when I was younger in school. You know, we did a lot of plays, or we did a lot of like, you know, we had elders who would tell us these stories in school. And so I try to infuse some of those symbolism, like the stars, like the, you know, in the teepee, I like to infuse some of those symbols. And I know it's, you know, it's very universal to a lot of our artists. And I like to infuse a lot of, like, I'm really fascinated with all the, you know, the star stories that we listen to. And even listening to some of the stories from up here, you know, it's really amazing how some of them are similar, but, you know, they're different. And how, you know, being able to have that opportunity to, you know, to understand, I guess, you know, some of my stories too, and then the stories up here, and then how, you know, how I'm able to create an art piece that way. So I think that it's, you know, we're really rich still in our culture. You know, we really have those, you know, opportunities to listen to these stories and to so I don't really have like a favorite one or anything, because I think, you know, all of them are really important. They're all really important, and how we're able to, you know, what is going to be in our generation, or, you know, the next generation, you know, what is the story going to be, you know, for them? What kind of stories, you know, are we going to leave for them? So I think it's, you know, within our arts. And so.
Okay, we have one more question, and it's from Jessica. Do you have a dream project? If so, what is it?
Take over the world.
Hey, be the next president.
Miss Prez.
My big dream, my next project, not my next one, but eventually, I want to do a mural. Those are really huge undertakings, but I'd like to do a mural one of these days. Yeah, and there's a lot going on in Calgary,
Yeah.
as far as like public art. And it's really powerful going back to like museums and kind of the history and the context of that. But public art, I mean, really, that's what it is. It's for everyone and it's so accessible. And to have that visual there, and a space created for your voice in a lot of ways, I think is really powerful. So for me, I think a mural I'd like to do one of these days. So if any of you out there has a blank wall in your garage, folks.
There's one right there.
I think my dream project, you know, I really, it would be really cool to like do a full beaded regalia. You know, I've always wanted to do that. You know, I really admire those women that could just bead all the, or even like a quilled, you know, a quilled regalia. I really admire, you know, our Indigenous women, and you know, some of the, you know, well, you know, he beads too. Really awesome beater, by the way. But you know, I really admire our beaters, our, you know, our quill workers. So I think that would probably be like a dream project. You know, I have all these other different projects these that I want to do, but right now I think that would probably be just really what I wanted to do. And I think right now I'm kind of more in like a research mode and reflecting on myself and gathering more stories and gathering more knowledge for myself. Right now, you know, like I said, our art is kind of at a, you know, kind of at a standstill because we're doing a lot of teaching, and so you know, it'd be something we can think about, you know, in the future for when it is time to start creating again. And you know, not that, to say that we're not creating, we're always, you know, we're always doing these demos or we're doing other works, but you know, I think that would be an awesome opportunity to do something like that, like a beaded regalia from start to finish, and to have like, you know, these stories infused into this regalia. So.
Cool. For me, it's just like I'm always daydreaming, I guess. But it's always something that's, it's a visual. It's always thinking into the future, how I can do this piece of art, but in the future when I have time, you know, and it always turns into these real massive, awesome ideas. And Amber has to pull my little chain back. Hey, settle down, you know. But thank you for the compliment about beading, you know. I kind of don't like doing it, but when I have to do it, I guess I have to do it, right? So, but I would like to definitely, with the current work that I'm doing, you know, like with the film work and the elders work, is to create a nice big, you know, for educational purposes, right? For young people to understand, you know, for our school kids, because I talk to my kids, right, and they ask me about these courses they're taking, so their social courses, and sit them down and start talking about our history and our people's history and their plight and things that they went through. And my son sat there and said, "Dad, you should come teach our class," right? So, you know, it's just stuff that was passed down to me from the elders. You know, it's not my own knowledge; it's theirs. So, just reiterating what they said, but for more younger people to able to hear information like that, you know, would be awesome. Aside from that, I would like to probably, you know, get some GMAW welders and some equipment, sanders and cutters, all that, and make these huge, awesome sculptures, right? So that's kind of where my, like, as an art passion, you know, I really enjoy uh, metalwork, right? It's awesome. I made my own set of knives a long time ago, you know, carving knives, and like to carve on cedar wood, and you know, we did carving pine wood and all that. So I just love all art forms, and new ones come up, you know, try it out, check it out, and you know, do my best at it, as our elders say, aga me mo, That's what they say, do your best to persevere.
Mm.
Done.
Akimat.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So we're kind of coming to the end of this segment. I would sure like to do more stuff like this with artists, and I'm hoping once COVID goes away that we can offer stations where people can get access to what you do, and you would teach them maybe this and that. We had an art club at the library that's currently in suspended animation because we can't come into the library right now. And I have to say that because I'm not an artist in terms of painting and all that, but I saw people that had the talent, and I asked them to help, and they stepped up and they said, well, we'll be there, we'll help you. And one day Amber walks in, and I told her, can you do this class today for me? Oh, okay. And stuff like that is really good. So a lady, an elder, did a self-portrait of herself. We did rubbings, and then we just put it on paper. So personally, I've seen people like it, like I think it was Amber that said it brings you into yourself, and then you see something that you can make on the paper or whatever you're doing. Like we made these little origami boxes, but instead of instead of paper, we put the cloth on the paper and then use the ribbon shirt concept or ribbon skirt. And then we used little tape, and they really turned out nice. I just thought, well, let's just give it a try, stuff like that. And I found people just like, they just want to do stuff. And I had a guy just walk off the street, and he said, I'll give you a piece of art, and draws this thing like in 5 minutes. And, he had his issues, and then he left, and I haven't seen him since. And he just said, I'll do this for you. And I still have his picture there that he drew. Mm-hmm. So things like that, I just feel it's so connecting, like you said, but it's more than that. It's who we are as humans, that urge to write on the wall. I mean, just look at the caves. There was a documentary last night on TV that my husband was watching, and it was about how they used I think it was France, the caves there, and it was ochre they were using. And I thought, look at that. And then I go to writing on stone, and I see all this. Then on our reserve in Montana, there's writings there that are not well known, but my aunt took me and she said, look at this, and so on and so forth. So I really want to encourage all of you. Your mentor, Haley, your mom, she's already probably done a lot of this and has that knowledge. And so I just want to thank all of you. It's been really, this has been really engaging, and I hope our audience found it to be engaging. But if some people are having trouble getting into the logs, but we're going to put them, or the login, I should say the logs. See these people finding in logs.
You just want to go logging, Linda.
Yeah, they're all walking around like this now. But anyway, it's going to be on YouTube in about, so let your friends know. Elizabeth will send you a link when it's ready, when they're ready to go up. It's going to take them about, I think she said, a couple weeks, because they have to do an editing and all that kind of stuff that goes along with putting stuff up. And Word on the Street has had a lot of authors, and we had, I think, at least 6, 7 sessions just with the Indigenous content and whatnot. So anyway, I want to thank all of you, and it's been really rewarding, I believe. And if any of you, the 3 of you, have any parting words that you'd like us to reflect on, go for it.
I just want to encourage everybody to, through this, the COVID or whatever, it really gave us a time to kind of sit down and to really, kind of stop what we're doing. We're so busy all the time, able to sit down and stop and to really reach out And I really feel like, you know, artists were, you know, we're reaching out for artist opportunities to help us through these times. And, you know, I feel that, you know, we need to encourage each other to continue looking for those, or even to help each other through that way. You know, I don't like when people say, well, I'm not an artist. You know, you are an artist. You know, even if you're like, if you cook or whatever, you know, we're all artists. So I just want to encourage you through this time to continue to take care of each other. You know, to learn your, you know, learn a word of your language, even to go to do harvesting and to do all the stuff that maybe you wanted to do, but you couldn't because we were so busy. But now we, you know, we have these opportunities to do these, So I just wanted to encourage everybody and to support each other through our journey. And I'm really thankful and that we were able to sit together. You know, I'm thankful to hear you, Haley, hear your words, and to hear your about your works. You know, really really thankful for you and for everything that you're doing. You and your mom. You know, really thankful for all the things that you're doing out there. You know, in the world and in the universe. Thankful for you know, the library, Lethbridge Library, for having us on. Thankful for our mentors and you know, our work, and thankful for my partner and for my children. So I just wanted to say that much.
You got it all.
Will that be? Well, no one can top that, so we better end that there. No, thank you. It was a real honor, Linda. Thank you for all the work, and Amber and Jamie for sharing your knowledge, and also for all the attendees. It was really a pleasure. I feel honored to be a part of this.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, Jamie? Okay,
Oh, Amber said it all, so.
okay,
What she said.
Yeah.
what she said, okay. There's a line in a book, I don't know if it's Joy Harjo, one of her poems, or Leslie Silko, but one of the lines is, well, that's what she said. I always remember that. Anyways, so let's all meet somewhere in the world, and thank you. Okay, so
Okay.
we can leave.